Hello, welcome back. BJ the Brave here, bringing you another episode of Forgecast. This is episode 15, and for all 15 episodes, I have been joined, as always, by my brother-in-arms, the Ecclesiarch. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, BJ. I gotta say, yeah, never better because currently enjoying the game like crazy, but more on that later. How have you been
Yeah,
doing?
you've been putting out some content, man. I'm loving it. It's great. It's the
Yeah.
first time ever where I'm like, I can't keep up with all the Warpforge content. It's like, what is this phenomena? Anyway, before we jump into that, also joining us today, bringing the wholesome PC vibes. We are also joined by Slither. um,
Hi.
uh, Slither, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks. Great to be here. Yeah, been watching these for a while, so it's pretty hyped to actually be on one.
Yeah, it's cool. We like to every now and again get a guest on because otherwise people get sick of that. Not those two guys again. So we like to
I'm sure that's not the
we like to
case.
keep it fresh. And Slither has joined my alliance, so we've been hanging out quite a bit this month, and playing. It's been really cool. Many people, I'm sure, especially in the legendary, probably know you and they'll have played against you and stuff like that. But
Mm.
Slither, where did you finish on ladder last season?
Top four or top five?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think I got to top four and went to bed, so it was either fourth or fifth.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think I first saw you, Sliver, when you were sort of going hard on the sisters, weren't you? You were one of the kind of like real initial diehards that was like me, determined to prove that they were really good.
yeah, two weeks of my life wasted, I think, to be honest.
For failing miserably.
Those initial sister games, it was annoying because with those mechanics, it felt like, oh, if I could just master this thing, there could be all this potential. But like, I think after like 30, 40 games, it just slowly dawns on you that like they weren't that good.
Yeah. You're
Um,
like, either I'm really bad at this game or something's not
yeah,
quite right. Like, I just lost to Zagstruck and he hit himself in the face 3 times. It's like, what, how am I losing this game?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm almost at Forge level 40, so I'll definitively know if I just suck at sisters. Like once I
Yeah.
unlock that.
It's like the Holy Grail is that I feel like we're all kind of like, oh, if we just get to level 40 on the forge, the whole thing is going to fall into
Yeah,
place.
I will finally be good at level
I
40
don't,
Forge.
I'm still grinding it. Like all my campaign missions are like sisters just for that. But I know it's going to be like 3 games in, and we're going to be like, nah, that didn't do
Yeah.
it. Oh man! So when did you tell us a bit about you, Sliver, in terms of your gaming background? Well, what is your gaming background? When did you like start gaming? What got you into gaming? And also, when did you start Warpforge? How long have you been playing?
So when did I first start playing Warpforge? I mean, the game's not been out for a year yet. I think maybe I started playing half a year ago, I want to
Yeah,
say.
was it August? No, September was it?
Um,
Please,
you
can you
know what?
remember? Was it September?
I think I remember climbing using one of your Galen tempo guides. So if you can remember that video, then it'll be from there. But yeah, I mean, just been getting.
I think like it started from October. I think like towards the end of summer in September we had the alpha. Then was a beta, and I think officially it started in November. So
Okay.
yeah,
I think I joined at the tail end of the pre-season, like Ultramarine Menace,
Yeah,
and then but I didn't really play that
yeah.
much in that matter.
yeah.
Um,
The Ultramarine one was like the first proper season. That was just everyone was playing Calgar, few Targaryen.
yeah.
That was like
Um,
last season.
Apart from that, I've just been gaming. I don't know, like basically my whole life. I used to be more into to fighting games. Actually, I was a big I liked Guilty Gear and
Oh, really?
played a bit of Street Fighter.
Were you like a
Um,
Mega Drive person? I don't actually know how old you are. Mega Drive, it might be
no,
my
I
age.
was no Mega Drive. I think it was pre-birth for me.
It's like your
Just
granddad
like
handed you one, don't
PS2, PS3. I think that was my era.
PS2, man. I was at uni when PS2
I think. Well, I mean, I think that the first game I played was like StarCraft on my brother's PC when I was like 4. I think that was technically my first gaming experience. That was that was fun.
StarCraft.
StarCraft 1, yeah, yeah,
Oh, blood it. Wow.
yeah.
See, that's interesting, isn't it? So, at 4 years old, you were able to.
Oh, I mean, I can play. I don't think
Nah,
my 8 p.m. was very good,
you were
but
more just sort of like, yeah, just like fiddling around. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
My 4 year old, I've got Spider-Man on the PS5. We've got Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
he just like loves playing it. And at first I thought, oh, he just likes the swinging around, but then we got into a combat scene and he's just like button bashing. He's absolutely destroying like
Oh,
hordes
really?
of
Oh,
bad
wow.
villains. I'm just like, this game is obviously so easy. This
Oh,
4-year-old's
actually-
just messing up.
Had an interesting thought. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I think my generation, the generation above it, was kind of like gaming was kind of looked down quite a lot on. I'd be curious to see what it is like for kids these days, where their parents actually game, and it's not this like, oh no, you're allowed for half an hour, then you got to go to bed, kind of deal.
No, it's a really good point, isn't it? Because it's like quite a new phenomenon. So, like my generation, I literally had the first console, which is the Atari with like Pong. It's just literally a black screen with 2 white lines, a little ball, and you think into the Master System, the 8-bit era, and all that stuff. So you think like by the time I'm a pensioner, we'll be the first generation of pensioners that game. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that happened before. They played bridge and cards and things like that, but they wouldn't have played PlayStation.
The nursing homes will have like PS5s and
Yeah,
stuff.
100%. Yeah, and games will change, right? Because that'll be a new market demographic. It'll be like first-person shooters for the over 85s. It'll be all slowed down.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I could do with slowed down version now because I absolutely suck at FPS.
I'm not that old, but I'm starting to enjoy card games because I'm not worried about them giving me like early arthritis compared to like trying to mash out like Street Fighter combos and stuff.
And had you played other card games, like other CCGs, or was it more like 40k that pulled you into this, or?
So I'd known about 40k for a while. I was kind of one of these people that would like buy a codex, read it, plan out a deck list, or an army list, and just never actually play because you only know like 1 or 2 people that actually had armies as well, and it's like a pain in the it's a pain to like carry that like weird box around.
Yeah, the carry case,
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. CCG wise, I think kind of similar to you actually. BJ, I got really into Gwent, and also Runeterra.
Oh, nice.
Both games that have got into what was it?
Had the day.
Yeah, they're kind of like past their day now, which is a bit sad. So fingers crossed for Warpforge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got really into both of those. I think I did play a little bit in the Gwent Pro League, trying to get the 4 factions up, which is so cool for this season. Like them using the same system, and you got to like learn 4 decks and.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so much better than just grinding out 1 deck, and you kind of want to try something new, but then it's either like don't play an unranked and not really test the deck, and it'll just be like playing against other for fun decks, and it just won't be a good test, or you play in ranked and potentially like drop like 80-90 points because you want it to do something fun.
Yeah. 100%, man. Let's get into some of that, because obviously what we won't explain to everybody like how it works. It's been out a week now, and we've already done. Go back and watch my video of Ecclesiastes. Some people have done that to death. But I thought maybe we could like just rant for a little bit about kind of how we found it. What have we been doing in the first week? What does it actually feel like playing the ladder system? Have you got your head around it? That type of stuff. So Ecclesiastes, just to give Slither a break. What's been your experience of it so far? What do you think to it?
Well, so I mean, you said a very good point. Like, this is the first time I think after the game actually came out that I've been doing so much Warforged content, because I usually, that I don't do that. I do focus more on HHL. However, this has been a very, very interesting experience, because as soon as this whole new thing came out, the very interesting thing for me was that I suddenly noticed I could play everything once again. Because like the balance is suddenly super good. Actually, balance is quite fine, but we'll get to that. The thing is, I meet all types of people on the ladder now. Like, it's not only, there's gonna be 2 main warlords, like the strongest one and the second strongest, right? It's no longer like that. We basically just get in, and what you get is you're gonna meet a sister, then you're going to meet a Tyrannid, then there's the Ultramarine. Of course, there are like still some factions that are a little more overrepresented, but that's always going to be it. But this new ladder system kind of culls it, because if somebody's playing one faction because it's very strong, sooner or later they all have to switch to something else, and then you're suddenly in a bit of a pickle, because you can't play that one overpowered faction anymore. So that for me is one of the biggest winning points. So as for me, I instantly started off with Keltalk, because I always liked Helltalk a lot, but I never really thought he was worth playing. But now, currently, I think that he's quite good. And I instantly got Eldar to like 3K or something because
Nice.
it was way easy, to be honest. And after I finished with my Eldar run, I also tried the other two, of obviously Galen and Eliak. Both are doing quite well. But after I finished that, I switched to Sisters. And Sisters are also doing quite well, which I'm quite happy about, actually. I've been liking Sisters a lot as well this season.
Doing all
Obviously,
sisters or like one particular warlord?
honestly speaking, all of them. I do think, honestly, that Junith is probably the strongest because of her ability. But Erika, I played some Erika games. It was good. And even Morven Val Aggro been pretty good. Although you can notice that she's weaker than the others, but it's quite easy. Then I played some Onva on stream. And, well, those of you who watched do know how that went. So it was a bit of an... I don't know, man. It wasn't a complete annihilation. That Warlord seems to be quite good right now with the new support cards. I played some Chaos. I pretty much played everything, I think, this season except Orkz yet. Like, I haven't touched Orkz yet because I'm kind of bored with Orkz. I played Nemesor. So, not to drag this, too much, I'm just going to say I've been enjoying everything this season. Everything is almost everything is fun to play. Let's just put it at almost. Like,
and how are you approaching it, Ecclesia? Are you basically just going with like whatever you feel like playing? Like we've got some people in our alliance who have been really tactical and like they've really been like quite mathematical about it all and everything. But what's your approach? Are you just testing stuff and trying stuff or what?
Currently, I'm just literally playing whatever I feel like. Well, you know me, and you know that I've always kind of been like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't really stick to one faction for a long time because it gets super boring.
me
So, I just log into the game and I'm like, okay, today I want to play this. So that's how pretty much I play right now. I am going to start pushing Sisters a lot this season. I'm getting close to 40 myself, even though I don't think that's going to decide too much because I like the first two defense cards. Even that +1 melee attack, because if you're playing Junith and enemy Junith goes first, you suddenly can drop your own sister and use the counterattack to take his sister out, and you suddenly have the initiative, and that's a big deal. So, yeah, pretty interesting. Overall, I will say I have seen some complaints about the rank system. I understand that there are some drawbacks. I'll say more on that maybe a little bit later, but as I said, all in all, I'm loving it, and I'm going to keep making more content. This is what I've been waiting for a long time for this game.
And I guess what you're saying about like just playing what you feel like. I guess like this new system really kind of plays into that, doesn't it? It kind of lends itself to that, which sometimes we're quite analytical when we think about card games and stuff, but there's a huge like emotional angle to it, right? And I think like just being able to just feeling good is a huge part of it. Like, how does it feel? We're going to talk about the cultists later on, aren't we? And I've already seen a lot of feedback, and a lot of what I'm picking up is people talking about how they think it's going to feel to play against them, or how it's going to feel to play with them. And that stuff really matters, right? Because it makes people either check out or check in a big way. But it sounds like it's really ignited a lot of sort of energy for the game for you.
Oh yeah, the Gene Stealers are a pretty interesting case, I have to say, because first of all, I think one of the big things about the Gene Stealers is that they're going to bring a very, I would say, devastating mechanic to the game overall, because that whole the whole thing that they're based on, the sabotage thing, it's a problematic thing to balance. But I don't know, EG might have gotten it like.
Well, that's
10
because
out
they
of
were.
10, but...
I mean, we'll save this for the end bit when we get on to talking about cultists. But is that because they swim to Alpha Legion? You'll have to tell us what that were like, because I didn't play HSL. So, but when we get into that bit, maybe
when we get into that, I'll give you an example and also bring some other parallels.
Alpha Legion. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I'm excited to have a new faction in the game, though. I think it's really cool. Like, it's something that we all want.
Yeah.
We want more content. So even though I'm not really a big Gene Stealer fan, I wanted the Guard as soon as possible. I have no right to complain, because I was expecting that Sisters would be dropping next year or something, and this was the faction I wanted the most, and so I'm shutting up. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Just give me the content, man.
Yeah, give us the content. It's way better than the reinforcement drops. So, yeah. So Slither, what about yourself? Obviously we came out of the ultramarine dominant season, and felt like everything was either play with Tigerius or play one of a couple of prey decks really that had a chance. And then we suddenly get blown into this meta that's like Ecclesiarch said, it's pretty much blown wide open, hasn't it? You can play it pretty much anything. What's been your experience of the new ranking system? How have you found it?
Yeah, just like really, really good. Obviously, like I think the start of any season always feels quite good to play, just because like the meta's not defined. There's no obvious deck to go for, so the start of the season is always a little bit better. But I think with this new rank system, yeah, just every game's against a different deck. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, just been really, really. I found it really, really fun. At the start of the season, I really wanted to push my Almvar deck because I was kind of trying to make that viable in the last meta, and it couldn't. It kind of worked at the start, and then as the list kind of got more tailored, it kind of stopped working. So it was nice to be able to like bring that back out, get rid of all like the anti-ultramarine tech cards, and just like push forward with that, which is fun.
And are you the number one town player at the minute?
Yeah, I am right now. Yeah.
What's the? I mean, just quickly give us a bit of an overview of that deck. Like, what was you think? You've built a good deck there, obviously. What was you thinking with that? And
yeah, I've gone back on the deck back and forth so many times. It's quite similar to that kind of boring like value Tau deck I think Omesos used to do, which I actually really enjoyed pre the Omesos rework.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I ended up doing some like weird stuff with it. Like initially I was running like Kroot Hound and Trail Shaper, and in my free drops I was kind of running like DS8, Vespid, and the Kroot Hounds. And I was kind of looking at like both of my proactive free drops are like really vulnerable to one thing or the other. So I've actually just swapped the old Crisis Battlesuit in, and yeah, it just works fine. It's probably used to think like, oh, the Kroot Hound's good into like Chaos and stuff because they'll trade melee, so they're forced to trade melee into the Hound. But then I've kind of thought like, well, in that logic, I may as well just play the Crisis Battlesuit or just like abuse the range and the flying. One of the weaknesses Tau have right now is that they used to be like very oppressive for like Swarm Lord and Chaos because there was so many like drones and flyers, whereas the Kroot cards have made them quite grounded.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the Crisis Battlesuit on free just because we kind of still get to abuse that for the first couple of turns.
That's one of the things that people keep asking me when I'm going to do Tau. It's one of the things I don't know if it's like I've not figured it out yet, or I just don't like. Is that I don't feel like there's a great synergy between the Tau and the Kroot because the Kroot, you when you're trying to figure out like your finisher, for example, Onval uses Storm of Fire, which buffs range attack. Well, Kroot are useless with that.
Well, the Kroot Hounds can actually shoot. they have a little gun. They have a ranged animation for it. It's funny.
But you know what I mean? Like 3 melee attack. Yeah. Like you want to be attacking with the melee attack. Obviously, the War Shaper, that ability gives the buff to the melee attack. So like, I find it quite difficult to get that balance right between melee and the range guys.
It's a weird one. I think that might be part of the reason I've dropped the Kroot Hound. The thing is, the Krootox Rider is like even stats. Yeah. The Lone Spear is even stats. Yeah. The Krootox, the Rampager obviously isn't, but the Rampager has a very specific job of just like deleting big units. So if he kills something, then that's fine.
God.
Yeah. Oh, it was so annoying last season because the Rampager came in and I'm like, yes, we got the Predator Killer, and then Putis with his tailored list starts putting in Storm Talons instead, trolling me on E7. Like I backed a shield nice and early, ready to like trade in for free, and the Storm Talon comes out. I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah. It's that turn 2, turn 3 when Tau bank a shield, and you think, oh no, it's gonna be a blowout around turn 6, turn 7.
Yeah. Also with Putis's list, because you could always get supremacy before you played your like big units. You were playing the Rampager on 6, not on 7, so you didn't have the mana to put the shield on as well. So even if you like delete the Predator, they just kill your Rampager and then play the Dreadnought or whatever out.
Yeah. And we got so deep into that match. It's I wonder if we'll be able to do that with a new rank system. That's one thing that's kind of interesting, is that towards the end of last season, it was really like you thought you were really into specifics around matchups and stuff. Whereas I don't know whether we'll get that this time. Although I do think as it settles, because like right now, like Ecclesiarch for example, he can go all like Timmy and just go, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do it. But towards the end of the season, he'll have 4 things that are more obviously ranked up. So if he wants to push, his score, he'll have to play one of those 4. And I think what will then happen is, and this happened in Gwent as well, is you'll start to go, right, most people in the top 50 are running Scarabs. Therefore, my Swarmlord deck needs to be tailored to Scarabs. And you'll start seeing a Swarmlord deck with whatever the 2-drop is.
Darkened Skies.
Darkened Skies and, double Ravenous Hunger and all that sort of stuff. And it'll get to that point in the season, I think, where we'll start, how do I make this deck better against Anvar, because I'm losing that matchup or whatever. And it'll open up like a whole nother little, it's almost like a little tournament meta, isn't it? Kind of thing.
I feel I kind of wanted to give a PSA about Scarabs, just warn everyone, like, Scarabs are back, and the new Disruption Blades is incredibly broken.
Oh, man.
I mean, I've been abusing it, so I'm guilty. But against Tyranids with the new Disruption Blades, you can just like kill them or get them to like 1 HP, like turn E5 before they could even play the Ravenous Hunter. And it's kind of funny playing it like the Swarm Lords will just be like, oh, well, I don't care about the Scarabs. I'm just gonna like kill them all and heal on E6, and then you Disruption Blades on E5 and just kill your Scarabs on purpose, and they just don't know what to do or just resign.
It's so brutal. It's so brutal.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder I don't know if they just forgot that Scarabs existed, or they were like, oh, I mean, no one's played Scarabs in a while, it'll be fine. But
I think what will happen is as new factions come out, and then so obviously took over last season, and then when they make these big nerfs, and the power decks have gone, it'll always come. There'll be certain decks that just come back out of the woodwork. They'll be like, oh, it's safe again. Like, do you remember me? like I had a guy today on Discord, and he was like, oh, I said something about Grook, and he said, oh, well, never worked too well for that guy anyway. I'm like, dude, Grook's tier 1. like, why is this a secret? Like, Buggy's gone like 15-0 with Grook. He's the top Orc player right now with my deck. I'm like 12 and 2 now or something, 12 and 1, something like that. It's absolutely broken. But I think it's because people forget, a deck goes out for a few seasons, and then when a nerf comes in, people forget how powerful these decks are. Scarabs is just always going to be one of those. Always going to be.
It would be nice if it wasn't, but
you hate it, Ecclesiarch.
It's something I just can't. I just can't.
You should try it. I ran 2 games with it after Slither. I did that, and I was like, "Yeah, this is the easiest."
I do think
I just felt
like if you have a 4th faction that you're not sure about, Scarabs is such an easy pick. Like it's not very hard. The skill ceiling is incredibly low. Once you know how to play, you can play it forever. You win the games at E5, so you climb really quick. Good matchups into, a lot of the top decks. Quite frustrating to play, but I mean, you should just get past that. Then, yeah, you just, I don't know, get 3k points easy.
It's good against Tyranids. It's good against Eldar. That's almost 2 of your guaranteed. They're both in the top 4 and pretty.
It's very good into Orkz because you just kill them before Will of Gork is even on the cards.
Well. So,
unless they start teching in Bomb Squig, then maybe that might be the smart thing for Orkz. But
there is 1 tech slot in that Grook deck, and that's what I was saying to Buggy and Tim today. You put the Bomb Squig in, so you've got the Bomb Squig, you've got double Squig. What's it called? The Squig Wagon.
Squig Buggy.
6 Squig Buggy.
Yeah.
Which one of them you can play on turn 4 with the Grot Riggers E4? Sorry. And if you're going first, you can do things like try and get Gretchen out and stuff to like to sort of like
just tank the hits.
Yeah, just subdue it and stuff, and then obviously you get to Will of Gork, and then potentially if you've been hit in the face in between, you can kind of pull off the bites and thingy combo. But it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
I actually think with the new Disruption Blades, I don't really think you can aggro Scarabs. Like it was always like quite difficult to do, but like the Disruption Blade just outputs. It's basically like self-destruction for free energy, and it can't get messed up by like other units. You put all the damage where you want it to go.
When do you cast it, right? So let's say
when the board is as full as it can be.
So you would wait till So let's say at the end of the turn, usually at the end of a turn, you finish with 8 Scarabs, don't you?
Yeah.
So when it comes back to
You,
your turn, if you've got like still
you just
got
play
8,
it right at the start.
so you're
No,
not
no.
you're not worried about the fact that it's a spell and you're going to get another 4. You don't go
Yeah,
for
I
half
mean,
the board, just go in basically.
it's slightly less efficient with Artifice value, but obviously, like if each Scarab's doing 3, that just outclasses that by a mile anyway.
So wrong.
I mean, usually you can still end with like a. Usually you still like have it basically a full board at the end anyway, unless you're playing it like dead on E3, which you probably wouldn't.
I think we should stop talking about Scarabs because after this
Oh,
podcast,
yes.
the ladder's just going to be flooded.
Oh
with
yeah.
Scarabs.
Oh, sorry, jokes, guys. Sam sucks. Like you know,
It's
you
all
don't,
right.
you don't play that.
All I'm playing exclusive next week is Morven with double Spirit of the Mountain and double Flagellant.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and Hallowed Martyrs. That card, man, is oof.
Yeah,
Hallowed
that's
Martyrs. Oof.
Yeah, that's really good.
That card is good right now. That card is oof. Yeah, playing against that feels rough, doesn't it? But overall, Slither, in terms of the new ranking system, I know you used to play Gwent. How does it compare? Are you enjoying it? What's your kind of strategy and approach going to be?
I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna try and like pick a faction, mess around a bit, and then try and like push it to a score I'm happy with, and probably like rotate around the four factions that way. It's just I'm still kind of deciding on my last couple of factions. I think it will probably be Tau, Necrons, and Eldar.
Yeah.
Fourth one, I'm still very undecided on because I'm not very experienced on Orkz or Tyranids, and I know both of those are pretty good. It might be a case of I just have to like spend a few days like getting to grips with it, or get some help from the alliance.
Yeah.
I don't know, just watch your watch your deck guide before I go to sleep every night or something.
Yeah, well, it worked for Buggy. He was just purely chaos, and he kind of went deep for a few days on learning Grok, and now he's like messaging me going, "Dude, this deck's so broken." Like it's like it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, imagine suddenly switching from chaos to Grok. It's like the game feels like, oh wow,
yeah.
What have I been missing out
What
on?
have I been
Right?
missing out on? Although Abaddon is actually quite a tough matchup for Grok.
Yeah, he is.
That's the one where I've lost a couple, but yeah.
I mean, what I found with Chaos is that if Chaos managed to get Draconian soon enough, Orcs have trouble because he can just beat them down. Even if they put armor on, he still gets the more damage, and that kind of beats Orcs down hard. If he doesn't get it and you get the armor, you might get to the point. But yeah, Chaos damage output is sometimes too much.
Do you know the secret though is that it's actually late game Abaddon that I'm scared of. It's not the fast one. It's the late game one. We and Buggy worked that out a long time ago. That it was actually Gazgul control we were looking at it. But if both players really understand that matchup and play it well, Abaddon is actually slightly favoured. It's quite a close match, but Abaddon is slightly favoured, and it's just because the Orcs they just can't deal with the size of the units every turn. I mean, obviously, yes, you're going to have your Will of Gork turns, and yes, you're going to have sort of mucking abouts, but that's it, and then your flankers can't kill Hellbrutes because they're too big, you know what I mean? And that's what screws you over. They get one Dark Pact off that gives the +2 and the camouflage or whatever, and with the armor you just can't kill these units, and the Chaos only need like one unit to stick, and then they just take over the game, and in a long game they can actually outgrind. So I came up against a seriously late game Abaddon today, and I was just like, I couldn't deal with it. And in a way, that's where you miss the Gazgul version a little bit more with the Grok. And I had to remember that, and this is where I think the ladder system's great, because you're really going to have to get into the individual matchups. Because what I realised is with Grok, what I need to be doing is keeping a Warbiker in the opening hand and using one Warbiker for removal to help with the early removal, and that's like a specific thing to that matchup. It's how Eldar do well against Abaddon. They've got to get their flankers early. If they've got the flankers early, they can kind of do well against Abaddon. But if they haven't, the Noise Marine goes off, and that's GG, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I mean, it's not a secret at this point. I absolutely love the new ladder system. I've probably been, the biggest advocate for this type of system because I saw how it worked in Gwent, and what people probably don't know as well is that pro ladder in Gwent was largely designed by gamers. I know Life Coach was huge streamer, and he was huge into Gwent at the time, and I think he had a big part. They actually had a lot of the top players who helped create that system, and that's why I had so much confidence in it. And you look at 40k, and we're all into the IP, right? And you've got these very specific factions, and it's such a waste to not be able to engage for a whole season just because ultramarines are dominating. So now I don't. It's like we want to play our favorite factions. We want to, and it's just tailor made for it. And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I've gone mental. I mean, I've played like 6 factions, already done like 20 games with each of them, and just really loving the variety. And even when you lose a game, you're not thinking, "Oh, I'm going to queue into that again next game." You know what I mean? It's like Ecclesiarch said. It's like you're going to get variety in decks, and I just think it's really cool. The other thing is we've still got bits of this experience to unlock because we're only in week 1. So right now people are still getting lots of points every time they win, and it's like that early season. They didn't start the season with all the full functionality, did they, in place? So when they started off, they didn't have the thing where you've got your peak score and your current score. So say you get up to like 3k because you're on a kind of buggy-esque undefeated streak with Grok, and then suddenly you lose 3. You go down from 3k to like 2.4. Sorry, 2.94, something like that. And it'll keep your top score. That will still be your Orkz score, and that will then contribute to your global board. I think some people didn't realize this, but the point is you can't extend your score without first climbing back up to 3k. And just it's a very weird psychological thing, that, because you start going, I've got to get back. I'm 70 points down. I've got to just get back to where I was before going again. And it adds this whole new dimension. And also it's where people will find their skill cap, because there'll be certain, as you get higher, you get fewer points for a win, more points for a loss, right? So you're going to find like where is your skill cap, and there'll be some factions where you go, I just can't really get above 3.1 with this faction.
That's also going to encourage a very good thing, because one of the boring things about Warpforge, maybe like nobody has actually mentioned this, at least I haven't seen anybody mention this. One thing is what BJ said, it allows you to play other factions or other warlords without saying, oh my god, I'm going to lose my rank or drop out of top 50. But there's another important thing. If you remember, when like we would approach the end of the season, you were like, okay, now I just got to camp. So not only like not play the other, just don't play at all, because if BJ has 4,500 points and I got 4,490, maybe I should just do nothing, and BJ is gonna drop off if he loses 2 in a row. Now that doesn't work anymore, because if I got like to that point, camping doesn't help anymore. So that's a big hit, and that's gonna make the ladder even more impressive. And just to put one thing out there, I have seen like a few comments about some maybe potential negatives of the ladder, but I do think that the positives just outweigh the negatives too much. For example, some people were saying that maybe for newer players it's not easy because if you don't have the whole collection of different factions, you might find it troublesome to climb. I totally get that, but you need to also consider one thing, that that's gonna settle as soon as the game starts picking up more players. Because currently, being a new player is a little hard, because even if you're like in low rank, you still sometimes get matched with higher level players, which kind of is not too good because the player base is kind of limited. But as time passes, it's going to get better. And this ladder system is exactly what the game needs in order to get more players, because this is such a huge thing. Like, if the game had started with something like this, oh my god. So what I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that this is a very big step. I get it, there are some negatives, but positives just outweigh it way too much. The game is finally healthy again, like
100%.
totally, because what happened last season should never have happened. Like, I'm just gonna say it was a big mistake not hot fixing that. We all suffered, but now as we have been starved for some good content, now we're hitting all of the factions. It's great, and let's hope this keeps up going like this, and we never have to go back to the previous season again, like 100%.
Yeah, I think with the new system, it's almost like a structural hotfix against like broken decks, because you can't just play like one broken deck forever. You have to rotate to something else eventually, which would have been great. Yeah, would have been amazing last season.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, we have it now.
there'll be seasons where we have like the UM broken deck, right? But it'll be like if we had this ladder system last season, everyone would be like, right, I've done my UM score now. You know, we've all got a really high UM score. Okay, what are
Yeah.
you going to do for the other three? And then obviously the variety kicks in again. What you're playing against.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's super fun. I know there's been a few negatives, and I understand some of it. You know, I think it is cool when you go, oh, Boogie's the chaos guy, or Shimatsu's the Tyrannid guy, and the idea that they can win ladder coming first. But as long as they give rewards, I think what they need to do is give out rewards for the faction ladder. I think the faction ladder has to have can actually become a really fun thing for people because people can say, well, I'm not going to win the global thing because I can't put in the time. But I can go for the Chaos one, or I'm going to go for the Alt one. That's my personal goal. So give rewards for that. Give card backs. Give things like that for the individual ones. I think that would be really cool. Can you imagine if you get themed rewards for each of the factions? But I do want to just address that complaint that oh, you're going to need to play more now. It's like, dude, if you look at the people who finished in the top 10 like every season in the last 6 months, you bet your bottom dollar were the people who played the most. They played a lot of games. The new system is if you didn't play that amount of games before, then it doesn't make any difference with the new system, right? Because you always had to play an amount of games. Like maybe that's only relevant for like the top 20 players. Maybe they have to play I don't know 10% more games now. There's 4 factions, and there might be a small argument there. But in terms of how that impacts the player base, it's very, very minimal because if you weren't putting the games in before, then you were never getting in the top 10 anyway. So it just really doesn't matter.
If anything, the kind of average score I think should drop because you have to grind it with 4 different
Exactly.
factions.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be harder for someone to like race way ahead and get to like 4K, 5K like a few weeks in or something.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll even see 5K. Do you? Like, I don't know if we'll ever see that now.
Did we see? We got to 5K.
Someone
Oh
got,
yeah, yeah.
someone got 5K
Spackman got
last season.
5K. Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever see that now.
I think. Yeah, you would. I mean, I guess never say never, but like, yeah, I think the point inflation will be
unless somebody really is ready to grind every faction to like that kind of a level, we're not gonna see it because there will be like no point in getting to 5K if somebody else has got 4.3s or 4.5s. So there's like literally no point torturing yourself for that, I think.
I think sometimes it was a strategy of like, if you weren't going to play for a while, you just try to like get to a certain score and just stay there while you like do something else for the rest of the week. But
so overall, we all super happy with the new ladder system.
Yeah, it's been a breath
Absolutely.
of fresh air.
All right, guys. So that's been it for part 1. We're gonna head over, send you over to Ecclesiarch's channel now for part 2, where we're gonna basically have a little bit of a chat about the state of the meta. So since the nerfs happened, how have we found the meta? What are we seeing? What are we playing? We're gonna do our usual card of the week, and we're gonna finish with a little bit of spice. We're gonna talk about our first impressions of the Gene Stealer cultist. So head on over to the Ecclesiarch's channel right now.